For centuries, Russia and Ukraine have been inextricably intertwined. Their shared history stretches back to the early East Slavic state of Kievan Rus, a powerful entity that flourished from the 9th to the 13th centuries. Kievan Rus played a pivotal role in shaping both the Russian and Ukrainian identities, leaving an enduring legacy on their respective cultures and traditions. However, this shared history has also been marked by periods of conflict and domination. The Mongol invasions in the 13th century shattered the unity of Kievan Rus, leading to the emergence of distinct principalities. While Moscow rose to prominence in the northeast, Ukraine found itself caught between competing powers, including Poland-Lithuania and the Crimean Khanate. This geopolitical vulnerability shaped Ukraine's historical trajectory, often forcing it to navigate complex alliances and confront external threats. The Cossack Hetmanate, a semi-autonomous Ukrainian state that emerged in the 17th century, briefly offered a glimmer of independence, but ultimately succumbed to Russian expansionism. By the 18th century, the Russian Empire had absorbed most of Ukrainian territory. This incorporation, however, did not erase Ukrainian identity. Despite efforts to suppress Ukrainian language and culture, a distinct sense of nationhood persisted, fueled by folk traditions, literature, and the memory of past autonomy. The 19th century witnessed a surge in Ukrainian national consciousness, finding expression in the works of Taras Shevchenko, Ivan Franko, and other prominent Ukrainian intellectuals. The collapse of the Russian Empire in 1917 provided a brief window of opportunity for Ukrainian independence. The Ukrainian People's Republic, proclaimed in 1917, faced immense challenges, contending with internal divisions, foreign intervention, and the resurgence of Russian power. The dream of an independent Ukraine was short-lived as the Bolsheviks reasserted control, incorporating Ukraine into the Soviet Union as the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. The dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked a watershed moment for Ukraine, granting it long-awaited independence. However, the legacy of Soviet rule, with its centralized power structures and economic dependencies, left a deep imprint on the newly formed state. Ukraine's path toward democracy and economic prosperity proved arduous, marked by political instability, corruption, and the lingering influence of Russia. The 2004 presidential election, widely seen as rigged in favor of the pro-Russian candidate Viktor Yanukovych, sparked mass protests known as the Orange Revolution. Millions of Ukrainians took to the streets, demanding fair elections and democratic reforms. The Orange Revolution, while ultimately successful in bringing about a new election and the victory of pro-Western Viktor Yushchenko, exposed deep divisions within Ukrainian society. These divisions, often exploited by external actors, laid the groundwork for future conflicts. In 2014, history repeated itself. Yanukovych, back in power after a period of opposition rule, abruptly abandoned a planned association agreement with the European Union in favor of closer ties with Russia. This decision ignited another wave of protests, the Euromaidan movement, which centered around Maidan Nezalezhnosti in Kyiv. The Maidan protests, driven by a desire for European integration and democratic values, faced a brutal crackdown by government forces. The violent response to the Maidan protests further escalated tensions, creating a pretext for Russian intervention. In February 2014, Russian troops without insignia but clearly identifiable as Russian military took control of key strategic locations in the Crimean Peninsula, a region with a predominantly Russian-speaking population. This swift and decisive move, condemned by the international community as a violation of international law, marked a turning point in the relationship between Russia and Ukraine. The annexation of Crimea, formalized through a hastily organized referendum widely criticized as illegitimate, sent shockwaves through the international community. Western nations imposed sanctions on Russia, condemning its actions as a blatant act of aggression. The annexation shattered the post-Cold War order in Europe, demonstrating Russia's willingness to use military force to achieve its geopolitical objectives. This event also had profound implications for Ukraine. The loss of Crimea, a strategically important territory with a significant naval base, dealt a blow to Ukraine's security and national pride. The annexation served as a stark reminder of Ukraine's vulnerability to Russian interference and the fragility of its territorial integrity. It also fueled a sense of urgency in Ukraine to strengthen its defenses and seek closer ties with the West. The annexation of Crimea was followed by a new phase of conflict in eastern Ukraine, In the Donbas region, comprising the Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts, pro-Russian separatists supported by Russian military equipment and personnel launched an armed insurgency against the Ukrainian government. This conflict, known as the Donbas War, quickly escalated into a full-blown proxy war, with Russia providing significant military, financial, and logistical support to the separatist forces. The Donbas War, characterized by intense fighting and widespread human suffering, created a frozen conflict in eastern Ukraine. Despite multiple ceasefire agreements, none have held for long, leaving the region in a state of perpetual instability. The war has claimed the lives of over 14,000 people, displaced millions, and devastated the region's economy and infrastructure. This conflict has also had a profound impact on Ukrainian society, fostering a sense of national unity and resilience in the face of external aggression. The war has led to a surge in patriotism, a strengthening of Ukrainian national identity, and a growing determination to resist Russian interference. It has also fueled a process of military modernization and reform, with Ukraine seeking to enhance its defense capabilities and reduce its dependence on Russia. Section 5. The 2022 invasion, a full-scale war. Despite ongoing tensions and the unresolved conflict in the Donbas, the world was taken aback by the scale and scope of Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Russian President Vladimir Putin, in a televised address, announced a special military operation aimed at demilitarizing and denazifying Ukraine, justifying the invasion with baseless claims of Ukrainian aggression and a fabricated narrative of a Nazi threat. The invasion marked a dramatic escalation of the conflict, unleashing a devastating war that has had catastrophic consequences for Ukraine and far-reaching implications for global security. Russian forces, equipped with advanced weaponry, launched a multi-pronged assault, targeting major cities, including Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Odessa. The invasion has been met with fierce resistance from Ukrainian forces and widespread condemnation from the international community. The 2022 invasion has shattered any remaining illusions about Russia's intentions toward Ukraine. Putin's actions have made it clear that he seeks to subjugate Ukraine, denying its right to self-determination and sovereignty. The invasion has fundamentally altered the security landscape in Europe, raising profound questions about the future of the continent and the effectiveness of the international order. Section 6. International response: a divided world. The international community's response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been swift and multifaceted. Western nations, led by the United States and the European Union, have imposed unprecedented sanctions on Russia, targeting its financial system, energy sector, and key individuals within Putin's inner circle. These sanctions are designed to cripple the Russian economy and pressure Putin to change course. In addition to sanctions, Western countries have provided Ukraine with significant military, financial, and humanitarian aid. This assistance has been crucial in enabling Ukraine to mount a robust defense against the Russian invasion. The United States, along with NATO allies, has also increased its military presence in Eastern Europe, demonstrating its commitment to defending NATO territory and deterring further Russian aggression. However, the international response has not been entirely united. Some countries, including China and India, have refrained from condemning Russia's actions, opting for a more neutral stance. This divergence reflects the complex geopolitical realities of the 21st century, where strategic interests and economic ties often trump moral considerations. Section 7. The information war shaping narratives. The conflict in Ukraine is not only a physical war, but also an information war, fought in the realm of media, social media, and public opinion. Russia has deployed a sophisticated propaganda machine, spreading disinformation and fabricating narratives to justify its actions and undermine support for Ukraine. This information war aims to sway public opinion, sow discord within Western societies, and erode trust in democratic institutions. Ukraine, for its part, has effectively leveraged social media and international media outlets to counter Russian propaganda and present its case to the world. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, through his impassioned speeches and direct appeals to global audiences, has become a symbol of Ukrainian resilience and a powerful voice against Russian aggression. The information war is a crucial battleground in this conflict, shaping perceptions, influencing decision-making, and ultimately affecting the course of the war. Understanding the dynamics of this information war is essential for navigating the complex realities of the conflict and discerning truth from falsehood. Section 8. Economic implications. Global shockwaves. The war in Ukraine has sent shockwaves through the global economy, disrupting supply chains, fueling inflation, and creating uncertainty in financial markets. Russia and Ukraine are major exporters of agricultural products, energy resources, and raw materials, and the conflict has disrupted these flows, leading to shortages and price hikes. The sanctions imposed on Russia have also had a significant impact on the global economy, particularly in the energy sector. Russia is a major supplier of oil and gas to Europe, and the sanctions have led to a surge in energy prices, exacerbating inflationary pressures and raising concerns about energy security. The economic fallout of the war is likely to be long-lasting and multifaceted. It has exposed the interconnectedness of the global economy and the vulnerabilities of relying on a single country for essential resources. The war has also accelerated the transition to renewable energy sources and highlighted the need for greater diversification in supply chains. Section 9. The specter of nuclear escalation. One of the most alarming aspects of the war in Ukraine is the specter of nuclear escalation. Russia possesses a vast nuclear arsenal, and Putin has repeatedly made veiled threats about the potential use of nuclear weapons. These threats, while likely intended as a deterrent, have raised anxieties about the possibility of a nuclear conflict. The risk of nuclear escalation is a chilling reminder of the stakes involved in this conflict. The use of nuclear weapons would have catastrophic consequences, not only for Ukraine and Russia, but for the entire world. The international community must remain vigilant in monitoring Russia's nuclear posture and taking steps to mitigate the risk of escalation. The war in Ukraine has brought the world to a dangerous precipice, highlighting the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of nuclear conflict. It underscores the urgent need for dialogue, diplomacy, and renewed commitment to nuclear non-proliferation. Section 10. Possible futures. Navigating uncertainty. The future trajectory of the conflict in Ukraine remains uncertain, with multiple scenarios possible. One possibility is a protracted war, with neither side achieving a decisive victory. This scenario would result in continued human suffering, economic devastation, and a heightened risk of escalation. Another possibility is a negotiated settlement, though the prospects for a diplomatic solution currently appear dim. A negotiated settlement would require significant concessions from both sides and a willingness to compromise on core interests. However, given the deep mistrust and animosity between Russia and Ukraine, reaching a mutually acceptable agreement would be a formidable challenge. A third possibility is a Russian victory, with Ukraine being subjugated and absorbed into Russia's sphere of influence. This scenario would have profound implications for the international order, demonstrating the failure of collective security and emboldening other authoritarian regimes. The future of Ukraine hangs in the balance, as does the future of Europe and the international order. The war has exposed the fragility of peace, the dangers of unchecked aggression, and the urgent need for international cooperation to address global challenges. The choices made by leaders in the coming months and years will determine whether the world descends into a new era of conflict or finds a path toward a more peaceful and stable future.